And we are saying that we have to be egalitarian. We have to cater for the minority. It is pro those who have been marginalized. And that is the statement of the Constitution 2010. Let us look at the manner in which this bill was originated. It was the position of Senior Counsel Kirago that the origin is hazy. The question is, from their own admission, if this origin was hazy, where did the people come in to prescribe the exact number, that is 70 constituencies? Was the poor peasant, the woman in the village in Yimbo Senge, consulted in terms of whether she wants a constituency? The people of North Hor constituency, it takes you 5 hours from one corner to another. And Bakassi, Babu Owino's constituency, to the Uri's constituency, it takes about 10 minutes. Fairness. What are we talking about when we talk about fairness? What are the impugned provisions of this bill? I want to refer the Honorable Court to Section 10 and Section 74 of the BBI bill. What do these impugned provisions do? Number one, they purport to create 70 constituencies. 2, they direct the IBC to determine boundaries and to delimit 70 created constituencies to specific counties, leaving out others. They stipulate the time period within which the IBC must act. They stipulate to the IBC the criteria to be used. The IEBC is an independent constitution, enjoying functional independence. And the Supreme Court has addressed itself exactly what this court said. You cannot depart from that. For purposes of rule of law and for certainty, I beseech you to maintain the statement on constitutional commission independence. There was a position held here by Mr. Karori on behalf of the Attorney General that we are still in the conceptual mooring of 3 branches of government. May I correct that assertion loudly and clearly in the presence of my teacher sitting on the other side, Professor Ben Murumbi Sihanya, that we have since moved from the traditional understanding of government as 3 branches. We have moved from the trias political model, and with the commissions, the independent commissions coming in, that is argued, amongst others by Professor Sihanya, that we have a 4th arm of government, so that when Justice, the Deputy Chief Justice, and the Chief Justice represent the Supreme Court at the Judicial Service Commission as commissioners, their presence there is in an independent office, contradistinguished from the judiciary, where they sit as judges of the Supreme Court. Power contrary to contra-power, ambition contra ambition. That is the Montesquieu edict in terms of separation of powers. So that when the IBC is a beneficiary of separated power, its functional capacity under Article 88 and 89 must be respected, and without apologies. What is the mischief that was intended by the Constitution in terms of demarcation and delimitation? There are certain undergirding principles that were intended to be safeguarded. And these principles we have highlighted, and I refer the court to Volume 3 of our Case Digest, from page 450 onwards. There's a scholarly article by a lady, Lisa Handley, giving a history of boundary delimitation from a comparative perspective. The history has been looked at by the High Court. The principles: impartiality, equality, representativeness, non-discrimination, transparency. I will address myself to the question of impartiality, because that is what concerns us with the IEBC. The process of boundary delimitation is removed from the political organs, and the IEBC should shepherd the whole process and guide the people in terms of the whole process. Alicia Ngoya has gone through that process. I will not go through it. But if the people were to be aggrieved by the processes conducted by the IEBC in creating new constituencies, then we have a recourse to Article 8910. What this bill, in its purport, tries to do is to short-circuit the Constitution, to remove the ability of the people to seek redress from the judiciary. The manner in which they propose for this new creation of constituencies to come in is what we call in conceptual theory constitutional octroi. What is constitutional octroi? An imposition, a patrimonial way of creating a constitution. Contra a thesis to what we have under the Constitution 2010. Ours is a liberal democratic manner in which we generated our constitution. And it is important to know that the people, in terms of creating these new constituencies, must influence the role, must have an influensive role through public participation. Public participation is important for this reason, that conceptually, we are trying to take away imposition by politicians, and the people must qualitatively and quantitatively have an influence with regards to decisions that affect them. Constitutional octroi, as being suggested by the Attorney General, is a seeping, an insidious threat to constitutionalism. That should it be allowed, and bearing in mind our history, our constitutional history, we will be inviting the insidious tarantula effect, whereby politicians can creep in and massacre, butcher, murder the Constitution as we know it. It must be resisted. The judiciary as a negative legislator. A question was posed here in terms of the judicial role. The judiciary is a negative legislator, so that when the courts correct misgivings or errors in accordance to the Constitution, the judiciary becomes a negative legislator. It is a proper function for a Kelsenian court. So that this court is besought not to be afraid to dabble into what will otherwise be termed political, because I heard the term political being bandied around here. This court should take safeguard and safety in the Indian case of the state of Rajasthan and others versus Union of India, 1977, where the Supreme Court of India, Bhagwati Jai, said that the Constitution is a matter of politics. So that Justice Ibrahim, when you deal with the constitutional question, this is an essentially political question. You cannot be intimidated into handling it as if politics is the preserve of politicians who think cyclically in terms of 5 years and think about their partisan interests. You, as lawyers, are trained to think in terms of posterity, in terms of our life, our collective life as a country. You, as of necessity, must deal with the question. In conclusion, Chief Justice, in 1803, on a cold, frigid morning, of February the 10th, 45-year-old Justice John Marshall and his colleagues in the American Supreme Court, dealing with the question of appointment of magistrates through commissions, made a tectonic statement. It is inherently the province of the judicial branch to state what the law is. The tectonic effect of Madison versus Marbury, which was decided on this day, reverberated all over the world. And the province of judicial review, as we know it, owes its life to this momentous day. The Supreme Court sits on the crest of such a moment. You are being requested to make an intellectually sound and bold decision. We know that you're equal to the task. The country is looking up to you as the Supreme Court. And this court owes the country a duty to do what is right. Equality, justice must prevail. The rule of law. Justice Ouko, that poor child in Maryland will expect you to make a definitive statement that when he or she appears for a public job interview, he or she will not be sacrificed for the reasons of her ethnicity or for the reasons that her father or mother has a small name. In your quest to find judicial truth, we pray that this court remains alive to the history, our history mottled by corruption, nepotism, malgovernance. The court is besotted to remember our constitutional history and the price that was paid by martyrs who along the way shed blood, the seed of our constitutionalism. Writ large, our national sanity, our joie de vivre has been replenished and remains alive due to a bold judiciary. And every time this court has made bold decisions, our spirit de corps as a country is always reflected. We are happy because from the gloom and misery that we have been subjected by politicians, the courts have displayed sparks of life. And this court will have the occasion to do it again. Please do it again. Do not be afraid. And Justice Patrick Omwenga Kiage, Lord Justice of the Supreme Court, of the Court of Appeal, says that the judge under the Constitution 2010 is a lion or a lioness. You are expected to roar the constitutional truth. You are expected to say it like it is. I have recourse, in conclusion, to a very noble son of Africa, whose text I carry in my hand, and that is Justice Digeng Moseneke, retired Chief Justice of Deputy Chief Justice of this South African Constitutional Court, Professor, University of Pretoria, who says in his book, All Rise, a Judicial Memoir, at page 305 thus: fidelity to our oath of office is important, not because we are important, but without it, it is not us, but our people who will suffer. By our people, I mean the full diversity, poor and rich, white and black, female and male, urban and rural, the marginalized and powerful, all deserve our unwavering protection, which our Constitution demands us to provide. After all, you are the ultimate guardians of our Constitution, for and on behalf of our people. That maxim, that edict by Justice Patrick Omwenga Kiage, the judge under the Constitution 2010, is a lion or lioness. Go ye forth and roar. Roar. Let every corner of this country hear the roar from this court. We submit that all the appeals as standard be dismissed in their totality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council, for the submissions. We will now hear submissions by the last respondent, Kituo cha Sheria 79 respondent.
My humble apologies, Your Ladyship. The 4 minutes will be donated to Kituo cha Sheria.
Honorable Chief Justice, Dr. Kamino is taking a health break. I think he'll be here in the next 1 minute.
We can take ours. In that case, then as we wait for Dr. Kamino, we will also take a break up to 11.